Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to present today to you this webinar, which I am really super happy to present. Actually, this is because we have done a webinar series on different topics according to the data science lifecycle. And today we are going to discuss about how to evaluate LLMs. And so allow me to share the screen and to start the topic of today with one note on the fact that this video is being recorded and the aim is for us to store it on YouTube and in our learning management system for posterity. So with this in mind, well, I just want to welcome you all. Thanks a lot for joining. Please don't hesitate to ask questions if you have in the chat. Otherwise, you can do that the same in the comments in the YouTube session, in the YouTube section. So hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's webinar and thank you a lot for joining. My name is Andrea and I am the head of global training at H2O AI. I am overseeing content strategy, creation, and certification programs here at H2O AI. And today, I'm super excited to introduce you the realm of Gen AI with H2O LLM EvalGPT. So H2O LLM EvalGPT is a tool specifically designed to facilitate comprehensive evaluation of large language models. In previous webinars that we did and previous courses that we created, we discussed a lot about the generative AI data science lifecycle, and evaluation is one of these particular steps. Evaluation is an important step, actually one of the most important steps, because if you did everything correctly up to this point, but you are not able to evaluate your models and to pick the ones that are going to be the best performers, then we have a problem. We are not able to have accurate results all the time. And we don't actually want to leave the decision of choosing a particular LLM to the universal force. We want to do that in a very knowledgeable manner. And that's why I'm here today, so that I present to you different concepts that we have with respect to evaluating LLMs, as well as an option for you to use if you are interested in this regard. And so today I am actually going to embark with you, hopefully, on this journey and uncover a multitude of possibilities that this tool and evaluating LLMs in general brings forward. And so this is the table of contents that I'm going to rely on, just a sort of a structuring of our presentation for today. With the mention that in a landscape where large language models or LLMs are increasingly indispensable across various domains, and we here at H2O AI, we have a lot of domains and a lot of business domains that our clients work on. The necessity of an evaluation and a comparison cannot be emphasized enough among our LLM models, right? And our commitment is to democratize AI, which is ingrained in our core values. And the reason why we want to go forward and present these concepts in a practical manner is because we have the majority of applications that we are developing and that are being developed by our grandmasters. Well, we are putting them online, available, free, in open source, and that's a wonderful thing. Sharing is extremely important. Having a community that can improve based on a collective knowledge is also extremely important. Hence, democratizing AI for us is a concept that I cannot talk enough about. And so we are going to start with what are LLMs and why should we even care about them? Of course, we are also going to set up the context of the entire presentation and discuss about why do we want to evaluate LLMs, what is H2O EvalGPT, and what does the user interface look like, with a couple of points at the end as a sort of a conclusion to consolidate this entire knowledge and have some fast ideas to think about when you want to refer to this course afterwards. So let's begin. So, once again, thanks for joining. Please don't hesitate to ask your questions in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer to them. What are LLMs? And I am always starting with some basic information just because I love demystifying data science concepts in general. And there was a saying that says that if you are reading a book on a particular domain, you know already more than 97% of the information, more than 97% than anyone else. Well, I have been working in this domain for the last at least 7 years, and I can say that nowadays Gen AI and LLMs are the things to strive for. And so that's why I'm setting some grounds here, giving you context in case you don't know what LLMs are, and we are going to increase our knowledge up to the user interface that you are going to see is very intuitive. So LLMs, or large language models, are advanced artificial intelligence systems or algorithms that are mainly designed to understand and generate human-like text based on vast amounts of data. And why is this important? Well, because as human beings, our society has been developed on information, changing information transfer, language understanding. And so for us, the ideal way to interact with our tools or applications is exactly this point of being able to express our need in our own language and being able to get the results that we desire in our own language. So with LLMs, there is no need right now for us to start learning to code professionally. I just put a proficient and professionally together. So there is no need for us to actually start learning coding in order for us to develop powerful tools that can interact with the user. And so these LLMs have gained significant attention due to their ability to perform a wide range of language-related tasks, such as text generation, translation, summarization, and more. And here are several reasons why we should care about LLMs in general. I just put a couple of them, the ones that I feel are the most important and significant for people who want to develop generative AI projects in general. And the first reason why you would want to care about LLMs and why you would want to develop projects on that is natural language understanding. So LLMs enable machines to understand human language more comprehensively, which was exactly my previous point. Text generation is yet another capability that I am super amazed about. These models can generate human-like text, which has applications in content creation, writing assistance, and creative projects. And our desire when wanting to democratize AI is actually to give the individual the possibility to create their own GPTs, to fine-tune their own GPTs, and actually to have their personal assistant, but that is personalized on their own preferences. So we have as many applications, as many clients, or even more, just exactly for this purpose. The fact that there is someone who needs a particular use case well, we can come up with applications and different options, a wide variety of applications, in order for them to develop their use case in a very, very personalized manner. So text generation, you might already know, is very powerful, and we are using it as a layer in all our generative AI tools. Then automation and efficiency is another point why you would wanna care about LLMs. This means that LLMs can have the potential to automatize or automate tasks that are involving natural language processing, leading to increased efficiency and productivity in various industries. And actually, there has been a rise in productivity since GPTs have been on the market, because the role of GPTs is actually to give you the means to express yourself and find information accurately, not to take out the creativity out of your work. And so that's very important. It means that these tools will not substitute human intelligence, at least in the mid long run, because human intelligence is needed. So these tools are more like assistants that can actually help you be more efficient and more productive in your work in general. There are a couple of more examples here. So for example, advancements in AI research and ethical considerations. So these are reasons where LLMs can actually come and help, so that we identify faster different patterns and different behaviors that might be, for example, destructive, or that might become destructive, and we would want to use them in order to prevent this particular situation. So understanding and monitoring LLMs is important for addressing ethical concerns such as bias, fairness, and misuse of AI-generated content. Extremely, extremely important. Just a couple of more points here on LLMs. I think LLMs are reshaping the society in several ways. They are transforming our current communication because they are changing the way people communicate and interact online. They are influencing social media conversations, customer service interactions, and content creation on various platforms. They also augment human abilities through that concept of improving the work, the production, and the efficiency, and by automating those repetitive tasks by providing different insights on vast amount of data that otherwise couldn't be treated in a short amount of time by a human being. Ethical and societal implications, these are things that I just explained, because the widespread use of LLMs raises ethical concerns, not only regarding privacy, but also regarding responsible use of AI technology in general, bias and misinformation, and economic impact. So we see that LLMs are currently disrupting traditional industries, and they are currently creating new opportunities for businesses and entrepreneurs who know how to leverage LLMs. Hence, our desire to democratize LLMs and AI in general as fast as possible in order to assist everyone to have that head start and to adapt to those economical changes and shifts that we currently see. And so we discussed about this. Very interesting. LLMs are already a topic that I have a lot of content on. If you're interested, don't hesitate to check out our YouTube channel. We have different playlists and learning paths that you can follow along with, so that you learn even more about these concepts. But let's focus now on why do we want to evaluate LLMs from the first place. So as the use of large language models continues to grow, for example, we are witnessing a diverse range of models that are being emerging, these LLM models that are emerging. right? And so there are so many LLMs right now for those who are like into this domain and they know how to work with them, that sometimes is difficult to assess their performance. So think of LLMs as advanced text processors that are capable of performing various tasks. And now, with so many different LLMs available, each with its own set of strengths, it can be overwhelming to select the right LLM, so the right model for a specific job. There's so many models with so many parameters that are being improved on particular areas that sometimes it's difficult to know how to select those. So some might excel as summarizing text, for example, whereas some other LLMs might shine at answering questions. And the question is, which one is the best for my particular project, for my particular GenAI project or use case that I have? And that's a question that we really work on with our clients to make them already define the problem that they have with respect to the use cases, and then start and build from that point on. Later on, I'll have a slide that is showing that step-by-step generative AI lifecycle, which I love to present just to know how to correctly lead different people to different steps that they have struggles with. And so evaluation of LLMs is one of these particular steps. And we see that sometimes with so many models, it's a difficulty for our clients to identify correctly how to evaluate these large language models or which ones to pick. Hence, we created two different tools that are in charge with this particular topic. So we are very productive here. So I'll be introducing them to you in a couple of moments. So it's crucial from my perspective to evaluate how well each LLM performs for your particular task or project. And this evaluation process helps you make informed decisions, ensuring that the LLM you choose is well suited for your particular needs. And understanding the weaknesses and the strengths of different LLMs will allow you to tailor your choice to fit your requirements perfectly. And this enables you to leverage this powerful technology of being able not only to create machine learning models based on natural language processing, but also to be able to dissociate between different strengths and weaknesses of those models. And so, yeah, that's actually the idea here. And the key aspects of LLM evaluation, there are a lot of them. Like I have just two slides to summarize the information, but just to give you an idea, evaluation. So there are several factors that come into play to ensure they meet the desired standards for a specific task or application in terms of LLMs. So here are just a couple of key aspects of what you might consider during LLM evaluation. So we are going to see them in the tool, but conceptually speaking, you might be interested in performance metrics. When you create your machine learning algorithm, you want to determine which metrics are relevant for your task, such as accuracy, fluency, coherence, and relevance. And these metrics help you quantify how well the LLM performs in generating or understanding text. And so usually people just stop here, like, okay, I have my scores. This is a good enough indicator for me to evaluate my LLM or my model, machine learning model in general. But there are a couple of more aspects to take into consideration, such as benchmarking. So here you might be interested to compare the performance of different LLMs against established benchmarks or baselines, which allows you to have a standardized evaluation to compare two different models. And not only once, just by comparing the accuracy, let's say, or the relevance metric, but actually compare it in all its particular epochs that are being, these algorithms are being tuned on. Fine-tuning and transfer learning is also an important key aspect, because you want to evaluate well an LLM, which can be fine-tuned for a specific data set or task. So fine-tuning here is very important, because even though different scores might result from different models that you are using on the data set, these models might already be fine-tuned differently. So assessing just the accuracy or the evaluation metric score wouldn't be enough. You might be interested in what is the strength of that particular model and how was that model developed, in what context, so that you know if it's a good model to use in your own case. Also, transfer learning capabilities are crucial for adapting pre-trained LLMs to new domains or tasks. That's something that some models are easier to work with, and you might want to take them into consideration because you have a project where transfer learning is crucial for your use case or not. That's another point, that when you're defining the problem at the beginning of a data science or a generative AI life cycle, you should be taking into account. A lot of other points here, just to give you two more examples. For example, computational efficiency. So here, computational efficiency for me is yet another important key aspect of LLM evaluation, because during your evaluation of different models, you might consider the computational resources required to train and deploy the LLM. And efficiency in terms of memory usage, inference speed, and energy consumption is sometimes critical for real-world applications, especially in the context of big data, where we want to train our models on large amounts of data, and that might take a lot of computational resources. So as you can see, not only the metric score is important, but in the case of deploying your model, are you able to be computationally efficient? Is this project sustainable if you were to develop it in the next couple of weeks, months, or years? And so computational efficiency, once again, very important. Interpretability and explainability, that's yet another important concept, because during your Gen AI project, you might be interested to evaluate the LLM's ability to provide explanations or justifications for its predictions. And that's one of the big blocking points that I see usually from people who don't always have that knowledge, that technical knowledge in order to deliver data science project, meaning that you need sometimes to make a sort of a compromise between, we want an easier model, an explainable and a more interpretable model, which performs poorer, but because it's interpretable, we want this model to be put in production, in comparison to, we don't understand the results of this model, but we know it works, so we will be using this one. And so this is actually the case of GPT. Usually you would say that GPTs are also a sort of a black box, where the algorithm decides by patterns that are super complex and not easily explainable what the results are going to be like. And that's a great thing, because it's very performant, but sometimes, or in the majority of the cases actually, you cannot explain how the algorithm reached those results. And if you're not interested in the explainability part, that's okay. But if you are, maybe you want to consider something that is more straightforward, gives you more visibility, and it's clearer to interpret. Okay. Yeah, we have some other key aspects such as domain-specific evaluation or user feedback and human evaluation. That are some important aspects that I might consider in the LLM evaluation point. But just be aware of the fact that your project is not done until you have passed through this evaluation step that is crucial when you want to have good results in production. And so now let's talk about H2O EvalGPT. So I promised you what is this and how can we work with it, how can we leverage it, etc. And so I'm going to start just by showing you this sort of data science lifecycle. Of course, the steps can be even more complex depending on the use case that you have or the things that you are aiming towards. I just put here a couple of several key steps that I consider important when talking about our own H2O AI Gen AI ecosystem. And so these steps are often iterative and interconnected, and you can see them here. Like, I want you to take a look only at the yellow rectangles right now because I numbered them to make your life easier when it comes to different life cycle steps that you might typically have in a data science project adapted to generative AI context and data. And so the first one, as you might see, is the problem definition. We always start our discussion around a data science project or an AI project by having a problem that we want to fix, usually. I'm saying problem, but actually that's not always negative. Maybe it would be a desire to improve some sort of customer experience. It might be a desire to answer to a need that has not been answered before, or it might be a desire for you to improve the entire customer experience. I think I gave that as an example. So problem definition is just identifying a place where you can improve things with your business and have a use case based on it, where you are interested in knowing what the data available to you might be, as well as what are the next steps, what do you want to achieve, and the intermediary steps or the details that you want to figure out during that use case. What are the resources that are able? It's just a sort of a project creation at that point where you are prospecting. Am I able to develop something meaningful out of this entire experience or not? And so the problem definition is just clearly defining the situation or the problem that you want to solve or the question that you want to answer using data science techniques. That's the first thing, and usually people tend to skip it, and that's unfortunate because at later stages you might find yourself that, wow, I have some blocking points that I haven't thought about and I was not prepared for, and maybe I'll just drop this entire initiative. Unfortunately, because usually what happens is that you already spend some particular amount of time by acquiring all the information of the next steps. So problem definition, extremely important. I cannot emphasize enough on this point. Next up, you have the data collection. And so data collection is just gathering relevant data from various sources, such as databases, APIs, files that you might have in the company or that other tertiary parties might be able to share with you. And so collecting the data is an important point because that's the amount of information that you'll have available for you to use in the next steps. Nevertheless, this information is not always in a structured manner, is not always organized, it's everywhere in all formats. And this is a problem because when you want to apply machine learning models, usually machine learning models on top of the data, you need a very good, clean, organized in a single format data set. That's what I usually recommend for best practices. And so here you might need to use a data processing or pre-processing step. That's out of the question, super important. Usually people need it, and more than 80% of the time is going to be spent in this place where people just clean the data, and make sure it is eligible for the next steps. After this point, let's say you cleaned your data and everything looks nice. Well, here you have predictive machine learning steps. I just consolidated it into the step number 4, but here you usually have exploratory data analysis, feature selection and engineering, model selection, model training, and model evaluation of that particular machine learning model. And so let's say you have put into place the infrastructure to find some models and to work with them. What you would like to do is to adapt these models, and if it's the case of LLMs, to fine tune these models to your particular domain. So what does it mean? Fine-tuning hyperparameters, adjusting model complexity, applying regularization techniques to optimize model performance, all sorts of techniques that might improve your models and the output of your models. Then fine-tuning in the context of LLMs is just a way to take that model and adapt it to a specific domain. Let's say you have a GPT that has been trained on the entire internet database, but it doesn't know information about your own internal company's protocol. Okay. And so what you need to do in order to have that GPT answer questions from documentation that has hundreds or even thousands of pages in your own company would be to actually fine tune that model. And we have a tool for that. Like actually all these steps, we have tools for that, just because we want in our GenAI ecosystem to be able to accompany anyone from the beginning, problem definition, up to the end of creating applications that are interactive, no code or low code that the clients can use. And so you would like to fine tune in a safe, private environment your own company's information so that you get value out of the results that the models are going to send in your way, based on the data that you provided, which is internal to your own company. And next up, you have the evaluation, and that's actually the focus of today. Evaluation actually is the place where you have acquired a couple of machine learning models. Maybe they have been optimized for a particular domain, they have been fine-tuned, and the question now is, out of the 10 machine learning models that I have implemented on my own data, which ones would be the ones, or which one would be the best performing one, or the most adapted one for our use case? And so here, evaluation and evaluation techniques is going to answer to that question. Next up, you have integration, model deployment, monitoring and maintenance, documentation and reporting, steps, as well as application creation out of this particular data with a friendly user interface. I created already a course on GenAI apps, so don't hesitate to take a look at that. And so, yeah, mainly that's at a very high level overview what life cycle of a GenAI project looks like. And so H2O LLM EvalGPT is specifically tailored for evaluating LLMs, and it focuses primarily on assessing their performance and effectiveness. So after all these steps before that have taken place, you might need to do this. And here we have two different tools, LLM EvalGPT and LLM Eval Studio. So LLM EvalGPT is dedicated to evaluating LLMs directly, whereas Eval Studio extends its capabilities to include evaluation of RAGs, which are models that combine retrieval-based techniques with generative models. Additionally, Eval Studio provides a broader range of evaluation metrics and functionalities. It covers aspects such as reliability, security, fairness, in addition to performance evaluation. So actually, Eval Studio is the bigger brother with more experience and more functionalities of EvalGPT. So Eval Studio is a tool that we currently offer on our cloud managed cloud. And EvalGPT is the free version of it, a bit more condensed for the public to take a look. It's free, it's open source, and that's the reason why I wanted to present it today and have with you a walk through the interface, because this is available for everyone to use. So I'm super, super excited. Once again, both tools originate from the our developers, and they serve the purpose of evaluating AI models. Eval Studio offers a more extensive set of features and capabilities, including evaluation of both LLMs and RAGs, and wider range of evaluation criteria, while EvalGPT is actually focusing on only evaluating LLMs. It's free for you to test and to get a sort of an experience of what an evaluation tool of LLMs looks like. So you can access, once again, H2O Eval Studio from our H2O AI managed cloud instances, but for the free and public version, let's use LLM Eval GPT. And so here, just a quick note before we dive into the visual part of this presentation. To give you a bit more context about H2O EvalGPT, this is a tool that is designed to assess and compare LLMs, and it assesses the performance across various tasks and benchmarks. Whether you aim to streamline workflows or tasks using LLMs, such as considering bank reports or addressing inquiries, and these are just some use cases that we are developing, H2O LLM Eval GPT offers an in-depth leaderboard that we are going to discover together, featuring popular, open source, high-performing LLMs. And this helps in selecting the most effective models, or the most effective model that is tailored for your specific task. And some of the key features that H2O LLM EvalGPT has is relevance, meaning it assesses popular LLMs on industry-specific data. And if you are interested in this domain, usually when you are searching for an open source LLM, you can see that it has been already developed or fine-tuned on particular industries. Hence the need to understand how to dissociate and how to use these LLMs in particular contexts. So for example, a machine learning model LLM type developed in agriculture might not work very well in a financial context, and vice versa. That's why it's important to be able to assess what that model was initially developed on what data. Okay. Transparency. So we have an open leaderboard that showcases top model ratings and detailed metrics that ensure reproducibility. So that's extremely important as well. The evaluation code base will also be very soon open source. So please don't hesitate to wait for this, or just wait for this. Like, you don't need to hesitate or something. Speed and currency. Well, our automated platform updates the leaderboard weekly, expediting model evaluations. Scope, for example, we evaluate models across various tasks with ongoing additions of metrics and benchmarks for comprehensive insights. And interactivity and alignment. So H2O LLM EvalGPT enables manual A/B tests for deeper evaluation alignment between automatic and human assessments. So yeah, I teased you enough on this tool. Now I think it's time we connect on our platform that is public, called evalgpt.ai. So I would highly encourage you to open this new tab with me and follow along for a more in-depth experience. So here I'll put evalgpt.ai and I'll just click on enter. And you don't need a user account to take a look at this tool and to play with it and to understand what this tool is about. And so I'm going to put it here, and we are going to walk through the tool together. Let me actually diminish just a bit the window. Okay. Perfect. So let's take a look. When we connect first time on evalgpt.ai, and this is always the case, you are prompted on the ELO rankings. So this is the first page that you usually see. And so H2O's LLM evaluation system employs the ELO rating or ranking methodology, calculating scores through A/B tests using a diverse set of 60 prompts in total across various categories. You can see the prompts here if you click on the tab number 4 left side of the screen. So if I go underneath, I see that the table has 60 prompts in total. You can see the number of the prompt as well as the text for that particular prompt. A prompt being some sort of input writing that you would like an answer to. And you can also see the categories. So these prompts have been categorized. And that is usually useful to tag information in case you have a big amount of data, not only 60 in total, because you can actually filter these categories based on the tags at that point. And so if I go back on ELO rankings, to ensure fairness, the order of potential models is being randomized, and the positions of models A and B are shuffled before evaluation by GPT-4. And so this sets up a competitive scenario among all models on the leaderboard. For the more tech-savvy, the final score for each model is the median ELO score from 100 bootstrap rounds. And so in H2O's evaluation process, GPT-4 scores responses from the models based on task understanding and detailed reasoning, and this ensures a systematic and structured assessment. And so you can see the evaluations of popular models in the ELO leaderboard, as well as their rating here. What is great is that you can also click on a particular hyperlink that will bring you on the page where that machine learning model was taken from. And you can do that with all the models. New ones are being constantly added. And so in the context of evaluating language models or other AI systems, the ELO score is adapted to measure the performance of models in comparison to each other. It assigns numerical ratings to models based on their performance in A/B tests or other comparative evaluations. And so a higher ELO score indicates here a better performance relative to other models in the evaluation. And here I am able to filter the table based on the ELO rating, for example, and I see that the GPT-40314 is the best model that we currently have, which is proprietary. We can see some other models coming from Llama 2 in the next 2 positions, so on and so forth. So it's super interesting to see already which models are the best performers based on this ELO rating methodology. Okay, so that's it. You can take a look if you are interested later on. Let's now go on the evaluation method page. So the conventional evaluation process for large language models typically combines automated metrics with established benchmarking frameworks like Perplexity, Accuracy, Bleu, and Rouge scores, alongside with broader frameworks such as Helm and Big Bench. However, these methods, while useful, have inherent limitations. They may, for example, overlook crucial aspects of language understanding, and struggle to capture semantic nuances effectively. So, to answer to one of your possible questions with regard to, is this model the best one in all the contexts possible? The question is no. You need to actually find the best model. Maybe the last one in your particular case is the one that you should look for, just because it has been optimized for something that your data has, which sometimes is a bit undiscoverable. And so for the evaluation metrics, to address some of the challenges, H2O LLM EvalGPT combines strengths of A/B testing and automated evaluation techniques, as I said, and offers analysis on all these things. Here you have more information about what LLMs are, why do we want to have an evaluation of LLMs, the methods that are being used, as well as the evaluation metric that method that we are using within this application, and some references. So yeah, you also have some information about instructions. Feel free to take a look. We have hyperlinks for all these resources and references. Next up, let's go on the which is better, A or B. So, as a reminder, evaluation systems that H2O AI uses, it uses the ELO rating methodology. And this is used to assess model performance through A/B tests, which means that you are able to compare two different versions of an output. And you might have already had the occasion to do that. To ensure fairness, matchups between the models are randomized and their positions shuffled before evaluation of GPT-4. So here, for example, we have a prompt out of the prompts that I presented to you earlier. And the prompt asks a particular question: what measures were put into place to prevent the savings and loan crisis events from repeating in the future? And you have two models here, and this is the A/B testing phase. This method provides a systematic approach for comparing models' effectiveness across various tasks and scenarios. And based on your own knowledge and information and opinion with respect to the two models, you might select that, for example, B is better. And so here you can observe, once you click on this, what model answered to, I just took it randomly, right? But you can observe what model issued what type of answer. And you can go to the next prompt and so on and so forth. You can actually do that on your own data set. If you have some answers that you want to have more accuracy on once they have been fine-tuned on your own internal data. Okay, so once again, this just shows you intuitively what A/B testing means and how can you yourself select a different model based on the output, as well as to discover which model has been used for what output, which has been randomized, because we have, as you saw, like 13 models in total. These are just two randomized versions of those models. Okay, so I really hope this is clear. We have two more tabs to go. This one I showed you previously. To understand and reproduce these results, all test prompts, as well as every model's response to every prompt, are displayed and searchable. If you hover over, for example, you can see the prompt itself. Here, let's say I am interested in a topic that concerns school. So I see that the prompt number 52 has an information related to knowledge and reasoning. And if I hover over, I see what prompt was put into this particular set. So There will be more options and functionalities coming in. This is just to show you the experience of having a tool that has the potential of evaluating some machine learning models that have been inputted, with the next step of giving you the possibility in the next versions. This is the version V0.1.0. So in the next versions, you will also have the possibility to input your own chosen model. Okay, so we arrived here on the responses tab. The responses tab is very interesting because that illustrates the best types of answers that might occur from one single question. So usually when you have a sort of a GPT where you have a prompt, so an input, and you have a single output. But what about using, let's say, 10 models in parallel and having a prompt that answers and gives 10 different answers based on those 10 different LLMs? Well, that's what's happening here. So here you have a question or a prompt. And actually, what you can do is to take a look at the answer, which has been created with a particular win rate. And so here, if I scroll down, I can see for each particular rectangle the name of that particular LLM, the date on which it was created, as well as a rating based on how good the answer was, and I'm able to scroll through all the answers. So that's great because here I'm able to evaluate whether a particular prompt gives a good answer based on a particular model that I'm choosing. And so let's say, for the sake of the efficiency here, that I like, out of all the questions, this model GPT-4 0314 and Claude 2. These two answers, out of all the answers that I have given the best results or outputs. Okay. What I can do on this page is to click on to select models. So here you see all the 13 models. I hope there are 13, if I don't, if I recall correctly, for 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. There are 14. Yeah, so 14 or 13 questions here, models here, and you can input your own in the next versions that we will be having. And you can select, let's say, I'm not interested in these ones. Let's take them out. I'm going to untick them, and I'm just going to keep 4 of them and click on save. And now what happens is that the output is selected only on the winner models that, for my case, are going to work. What I can also do is to select a new prompt. So this interface is great because here I can have access to all the 60 prompts, with the possibility in the next versions of adding your own prompts, from what I understand. And so here I only have my 4 models on the prompt number 44. What are some good references for modernizing a call center? Let's say that the best answer and the one that I like the most is this one, Claude 2, which is, let's say, in competition with this first one. What I can do right now is to click on Show GPT Eval. And here, if I click on this button, I have the possibility to select the Claude model and this first model that I wanted to select initially, and click on the Show GPT Eval. So when I click on this, what happens is that you have a new pop-up message appearing, giving you the 2 models that you selected, the winner model based on the score performance. So I see that model A actually has a score of 10 in comparison to model B that has a score of 7. And what is awesome about this entire situation, and I think that this window is the strength of the tool, is the fact that you receive answers and reasons why one model is better than the other one. So these are some steps that give you why the model B is not so good. So here I assigned it a score of 10 to the first model, The Model B, on the other hand, provided a list of strategies for modernizing a call center, but it did not provide any specific references as asked in the question. So it was not specific enough. And that's actually the algorithm within H2O LLM EvalGPT that is deciding that this was not specific enough. While the response was accurate, safe, readable, and somewhat useful, it was not complete as it did not fully answer the question. I assigned it a score of 7. I compared the scores and chose Model A as the winner because it had the highest score. How amazing is this? Like, you not only have a platform that gives you a couple of models to choose from, and you not only are able to see those models, you also have the possibility to compare the output of the prompts for these particular models. And on top of it, while you're doing your A/B testing, you are able to see the difference in terms of score on this particular prompt, with an entire reason of why this first model is better than the second one explained. Like, that is so cool. And I think that that can be right here the future of how people will be evaluating LLMs in the future. So in the future, yeah, like it was yeah, just to say that I am super happy about that. So I can close, and let's say I want to go in another prompt. I want to select some other models. It's as simple as clicking a couple of buttons. You don't need to know how to code or what these models are all about. You just need to know where you took these from. Are they reliable or not? Can you use them safely and privately in your own company's environment or not? And what's great about this is that you can deploy the tool on your own company servers and keep this tool with all its knowledge in your own company while using it on confidential data that will never get out of the company if this is your own desire. So let's take a last example here because I'm mindful of the time. I'm going to select, let's say, another question. Okay, let's see this one. What are some unit tests I can write for the following code? Okay, so that's a good one. So normally you would like an output that says, well, what is the following code? And so I see that this GPT is giving a good answer, the fact that I don't see any following code. Nevertheless, there are some models that are giving a lot of answers. So let's see. Let's select these two GPTs right here, the first ones, the first one and the second one. So they are like the first ones in the list, and show GPT eval. So I would assume that model B is better just because it's not accurate to give an information to something that hasn't been provided to you, right? So here, let's see. Model A's response was accurate and safe, but it wasn't very complete, useful, and readable. I would give it a score of 4. Model B's response was accurate, but it was much more complete. Yeah, useful and readable. I would give it a score of 9. Okay, so yeah, so here you can see that actually the evaluation is done in terms of accuracy, completeness, usefulness, and here this model has been evaluated as being better. Of course, there are a lot of tests that you need to do. Maybe I didn't select the best ones here. Maybe I should have tested some other ones. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like, I could spend a couple of days on this particular topic. Yeah. So that's it. Actually, I think we made the tour. We learned why Is it important to understand what LLMs are, how they are impacting the society? We learned also why evaluating LLMs is important, and how H2O LLM EvalGPT is one of the tools that we have freely for people to test and try, and to see what evaluating models in a particular scenario might be like, with developing some of the next functionalities in order to give you even a more complete experience. So we have LLM Eval Studio as being the tool that has been thoroughly developed with a lot of functionalities that give you the possibility to develop your data science project, whereas LLM Eval GPT is just a place for you to learn more about what evaluating LLMs is all about, how to see what the A/B test looks like, what evaluation methods have been developed, what the prompts look like, and what the responses are, as well as being able to show GPT eval outputs when comparing and benchmarking machine learning models. So that's actually the topic for today. I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to have you in the presentation. So I wish you to have a great day, and let's stay in tune on our social media platform with pleasure. Have a nice day. Cheers.